All right, I think I'm doing it. And I've got Cece, Dolores Slawson in Texas to talk about her spook stories. Hello, Cece.
Hi, everybody. Can you hear me?
Is there somebody else there?
Hi, everybody. Can you hear me? Hold on.
Yeah, you gotta turn your volume down.
It's on my phone, because I can't. I don't know what that is.
I don't either. It's crazy.
Can you hear me?
Yeah, I can hear you fine.
Can you hear me?
Yeah.
Okay.
I think you brought your
Hi,
spooks with
everyone.
you.
I told you, I think I brought the spooks back. Sorry. Okay, say something so I can hear you.
Something so you can hear me.
Okay, good. Okay. Well, I can start from way back in the day. Originally, I'm from Houston, and I live about 45 minutes away from home, from where I originally was born. My parents moved there in the early 50s, and the house, the property has always, I'm sure it was the property that was haunted and not the house, because the people that they originally bought it from, it was a brand new house, so there was nothing, no one passed away in the house, so I'm thinking it was the property itself. My parents used to sit there and say they would hear things at night. My mom said her and my dad would be laying in bed, and they would hear rolling pins would be rolling off her counter and onto the floor and just continue to roll. Then, for instance, one time my brothers were coming home from school, and you gotta sit there and say this was early 60s, because I was born in 1966, and they were kids, and so my parents would both be working, and my grandmother, they lived on an acre of land on the north side of Houston, and there wasn't nothing there. There was nothing there, and so my grandparents lived behind my parents' house in a shotgun house, so that you could actually just open the door and look all the way through to the back of the door, to the back of the house, the other door.
So basically, and correct me if I'm wrong here, a shotgun house is where you can open up two doors, right? It's like a straight hallway through.
Yeah.
I knew that one.
And so one day, now this was way before I was even born, my brothers came barreling through the yard, and they would go to the back of the house and to the back door and run in. And this was old school, so the thing they had to do was they had to get home, change clothes, put their play clothes on, then they would come back outside and go to my grandmother's house, which is, like I said, was right behind my mom's house. And so they came running around the back of the house, and the windows, now you got to understand, these are old-fashioned homes that were built in the late 40s. So they sat on blocks, and so the windows were up higher for a kid that was about 7 years old. They, stood up tall. So my brother said that they peeked into my mother's bedroom, and they could see someone sitting in the rocking chair. So they automatically thought, well, Mom's home. Even though they didn't see my mom's car, they said, well, Mom's home. So they ran in the house and opened the screen door, took off running, went straight to the bedroom. And when they opened the bedroom door, there was a lady dressed in black sitting in there, looking out the window and rocking in the rocking chair. Well, automatically, my brother said that their hair stood up on the back of their neck, on their arms, the whole 9 yards. They took off, all three of them, because there was 3 boys. My mom had 3 boys and then 1 daughter, which was me. They took off running. They took off running through the house and out the back door, and they went in there and told my grandmother. And my grandmother said, no, y'all need to quit playing. There's no one in the house. Your parents aren't home, da-da-da-da-da. So no, grandmother, someone's there. Someone is in the house. So they were just freaked out. So they went, my grandmother told them, well, you guys stay here, let me go see. So they went inside my grandmother's home, and she walked into the house, and she opened the bedroom door, and there was no one there, but the rocking chair was still rocking. There was no lie. She knew that the boys weren't telling the story, because there weren't. You would not lie to my grandmother, so they knew. So they were just literally freaked out. But that's basically one of the stories. I mean, there is always. Now, I know you guys have heard of people saying that you could see ball light flashing through the house or things like that. Now, I'm not sure what that is. It could be energy, it could be spirits. I'm not sure. But our neighbors seen balls of flashing lights in our backyard. They would come to my mother's house and knock on the door thinking that there was a fire or something in the backyard. And I grew up with my mother's friend. She lived on the right side of our home, so she was like my second mother. And there was always, she would always see balls of light. And this was not an orb. This was balls. I'm talking balls that are like 5 or 6 inches round, just fly across the yard, and you could actually see it. So they would just be just freaked out because of that. My mother, she said she would never see it. My dad said he's seen it a couple of times, but my mother never seen it. But our neighbors did. That was something I never seen, not at the house.
So the figure that they seen was it dressed in all black?
The lady that's dressed in all black, my brother's seen that. All 3 of my brothers have seen the lady dressed in black. I don't know what that could be, but it was a lady like from the I guess from like the, what would you say, from the 1900s, like from, you would say from the Western era. That's what the lady looked like. That was how they never seen her face, because she had a veil draped over her face, so they never got to see her face. But as for the lady dressed in black, yeah, that's what she was dressed like.
Crazy.
So let me think of other things. My grandmother, she would always tell us stories about things that happened, because my grandmother was a lady that was old school. So she was a type of a healer. So if you were sick to your stomach, or you had issues, whatever problem, sickness, she'd grow every kind of herb you can think of. So she was always using stuff like that to help you. So she was born in the 1900s, so she could tell you the same thing. It's just something that she was sensitive, that I'm sensitive about. There's that house, just was. It's been like that our whole lives. I grew up with something always happening. I mean, it's never ever been quiet at home. I mean, because we always grew up with something going on, especially if there was construction going on. If there was construction, if my mom was redoing the house, putting roofs on the house or something, something was always happening. I mean, every time, because they just didn't want change, or I don't know what to tell you why they decided to come out and do things like that, but they never wanted change. And that's, I mean, I can't tell you why they would do that, but they did it every single time. Later, one time, we had my nephew at the time was having we were having a get together at my mom's, and he had gone to the service. Now, this was back in the, I want to say, late 80s, early 90s. We had cousins and aunts, and the whole family was there, and it was close to Christmas. So we were all getting together, and we had a campfire going in the backyard, and we were all sitting around. It was cold, and we were all sitting around talking and spending time with my nephew, who was home from the service at the time. He was home from on leave, and we had a friend that came over. Well, I was in the backyard, and we were all in the backyard. In the garage, it was almost like a carport type garage, and you could walk through the fence and go through the garage and head to the backyard. And there was tons of people, and our friend, a friend of the family's, he parked out on the street, and he walked up to the fence, and he was opening the fence. Well, next door to my mom's house was a wooded lot, and my mom said that, at the time, Mike, his name was Mike, sit there and said that he was opening up the gate, and there was a guy in a white suit that he was just standing there. And so Mike goes up to the gate, and he says, I guess everybody's in the backyard. Is it okay if I, could just walk on through? And the guy says, sure, go ahead and go through. You can go through, no problem. And so, he just stood there and all in white. And so Mike just walks on by, and he tells my brothers, because my brothers were out there, and he said, okay, well, who's the guy dressed in white that's standing out there in the lot next door to the driveway? And my brothers sit there and said that there's no one. So I would go up and trying to listen to this conversation, and he goes, is there someone out there? And I'm going, no, not that I know of. So we all go up to the front to see who it is, and there was no one there. But he described this guy as had a white tie, white suit, white jacket, white shirt, the whole 9 yards, and stood there. And we walked around the yard to see what was going on, and he never showed up. But and he wouldn't lie. I'm sitting there, saying, "Are you sure? Are you sure you haven't been drinking?" No, I'm not drinking. I'm telling you the truth. There's someone told me, where y'all were, and I headed back this way, and I don't know who the guy is. Well, I said, we don't know anybody. Nobody was here dressed in all white. Everybody's here is dressed in jeans and T-shirts and jackets because it's cold. He goes, no, this guy was dressed in all white. We've seen him. And so he sit there and we laughed at him, and then my brothers finally told him, well, this place is haunted, and you don't never know what's going to happen ever. And so he sit there and said, okay, well, then I'm going home because this is just too much information I need to know. So, but that was one of the stories. That's one of the things that happened. There's always till my parents passed away. My mother passed away in 2013, and my father just passed away in 2016. And my brother took the house over, my oldest brother, and he gave that house to my son, not my son, to my nephew. And he was going to do remodeling. I mean, like I said, this house was early 50s, late 40s. So they were going to do remodeling in the home and change it and just add things here and there. And me and my nephew were talking, and I said, well, have you told your wife about what could happen if you start working on this house? And he said, yeah, I did, but in a certain way. And I said, well, as soon as you do constructions, you never know what's going to happen. So he actually really didn't tell her what's happening, but I haven't heard anything of any strange things going on. So who knows? But there was always something going on. I don't know what else to tell you other than that house is truly haunted. There was always been something. The main area of that house is my bed, which was my bedroom, which faced the front of the street. You could see the street from my bedroom, and the garage. So people, through the years, and my brothers would get married, my brothers would live with my parents and then move off and get their own place. Well, my second oldest brother, the garage, it was a gravel, it wasn't cemented, it was gravel. And you could always hear the gravel, like someone's digging in the driveway from the gravel being moved or walked. There was always something walking there. And that, my parents would always tell my sister-in-law, never look through that window because you don't know what you're going to see. And so that was the thing. And I would sleep in that bedroom, and you would always hear either the gravel or something walking through the garage all the time. You could never, there was never any difference, because there was something always going on. That house was always going on. Whether it was winter, summer, or fall, you would always hear something in that house. It never failed. It never failed. And so...
Sorry. I finally got my tablet working.
So there were, I think everyone in my whole family has did something, heard something. The previous owners, Peggy, there was really no previous owners there. It was always that was country land. There was nothing there. There was, my parents were the first owners. There was the way we always thought that the property was haunted.
Do you know anything about the property itself? Like, do you know about ley lines?
Yeah, what we've researched, what my brothers researched, that was it was never documented, but we found out that was a trail of some kind. Where back in the day, they would use that to go to a certain area. Let's say they were coming in from Houston, and they would take that certain path and use it to go to the next town, like maybe out in Montgomery County or Huntsville. That's the only thing we could think that it was. I mean, it's not documented, but we weren't but 10 minutes away from the main highway, which is I-45, going north or south. You were either going towards Galveston, or you're either going taking 45 straight out of Texas. So, that was the big highway there. So we're thinking that something, because back in the day, you got to remember, people, if something happened to you, you got buried where you got buried. But there's so many different things that, different activity there. It wasn't just one repeat, you hear people saying, well, somebody will walk through a wall and a spirit can walk through the wall and keep continually doing it every time you would hear or see. It wasn't like that. It was more than things falling off the kitchen table or off the counter, or somebody walking in that certain area of the garage by the door, or them seeing that the lady in dressed in black in the bedroom. So it was never one thing. It was different things, different. I don't want to sit there and say different types of spirits or just different things going on, because I can't sit there and say, I've seen the certain shadows. I've heard them speak. I've never seen a full-fledged ghost. No, I've never seen that. Other than my brother seeing the lady in the black, and our neighbor friend, family friend, seeing the guy dressed in white. But as for me, seeing a full-fledged ghost standing there, no, I've never seen that. Heard them speak. Seen the shadow, but never seen one full-fledged. And other than hearing things and flying off out of the kitchen, or hearing crazy things, in our yard or in the house. But and my sons have done the same thing. My sons has heard people say or speak their names. But as for seeing, spirits, no.
See, me personally, I've seen two. I've seen a ghost dog, and this was both at the same house, and a woman dressed all in white. And I seen her. I mean, it was during the day, and I was in my friend's bedroom. I was in my friend's bedroom talking to him, and I was like sitting on the foot of his bed, kind of looking down the hall, and like out of the corner of my eye, I seen somebody walk like across the hall through one doorway to a bedroom doorway across the hall. And I looked up at just in time to see it like go inside the other door. And I said, "Who was that?" He said, "Who was what?" And I said, "Somebody just walked in the bedroom." I said, "Is your mom hunting?" Because it was like a fully grown woman. He's like, "No, mom's in Ritchie County." This was back in West Virginia. And I said, "Well, somebody just walked in that bedroom." When we got up and nobody was in the bedroom, there was the one door that they went in, then there was a window in there, but the window wouldn't even open because it had been painted shut. This was an old house too. And he said, "Yeah, we see that here and there." And he said, "There's even a ghost dog." And on another night, whenever I was staying there, I seen a dog. I mean, plain as day, just walk. I was sleeping on the couch. It just happened to get up, and a dog was going across the TV room. It was crazy.
It is. I mean, some of the things, what's always strange is you catch it in the corner of your eye. When my mother passed away, I went, took that real hard because she was my bestie. And so it was between me and my brothers trying to get everything ready for the funeral and all this. And And you got to understand, since I see and hear this stuff, I'm sensitive about this stuff. Now, if I notice that there's something, if I can walk in someone's house and I don't know if it's haunted, or if I know they're being, they're messing with the occult in a bad way, or anything that's that's not good, I'll get sick to my stomach. I literally will get sick to my stomach and throw up. It's a sensitivity that I have with that stuff. It's always been there. When we had moved, before we had moved to where I'm living now, when she had passed away, we had lived in another house. When she had passed away, I was sitting at the computer trying to get everything situated with my mom's funeral. And I'm sitting at the desk. I'm looking straight at the computer screen, just like I'm doing now. And I see something at the corner of my eye, and I always notice that nothing's going to just fly right up in front of my face and say, hey, I'm here. It's always you see something at the corner of your eye, and I seen something, and that was the first time I had ever saw a shadow. And I seen it at the corner of my eye, and I just watched it. I had a swivel chair, and I slowly just watched that shadow go by. And I just kept moving it. I wasn't scared because I didn't feel like it was like something's going to hurt me. I watched it. Just kind of. How do I describe it? It was almost like a mist. Now I'm talking, this was right after my mom passed. So I'm just watching it, and so when I actually turned around and looked, there was nothing there. So I went back. Okay. I just kind of just ignored it. Turned around, I swiveled all the way in my chair back to the computer screen, and there wasn't nothing there. So I didn't think nothing of it. Didn't bother me. And so I sat there until someone brushed the back of my shoulders with their hand. That's when I turned back around and looked. But that was the only time that ever happened there that I actually got touched. It was then. Now, am I going to say that was my mother? I can't sit there and say that. But something touched me. So I left it alone. And my second oldest son, he has heard voices in the house we used to live in. He swore up and down. He heard someone trying to wake him up. And he sat there and said, yeah. At first he thought it was me, but it wasn't me. He heard that upstairs. None of my kids would go upstairs by themselves, ever. I had my second oldest, he slept upstairs. But as for my other sons, they wouldn't go upstairs. It creeped them out.
Well, see, I
can sit there and tell you.
I don't think ghosts are. I don't think they're spirits from humans. I think they're more like fallen angels. And I mean, I just get that information. I don't know if you can see the screen now, but I mean, this is one of the Bible verses: "For the living know that they shall die, but the dead know not anything." So I don't, I think it's fallen angels. I don't think it's, once you're dead, that's it. Your spirit is gone from this world. I think people can be possessed by familiar spirits, unclean spirits, and all that. But I think that's what they call them familiar spirits, because the fallen angels will basically imitate like a loved one or somebody you've lost.
Right.
I think that's what ghosts are. I don't think it's like. You know what I'm saying?
I don't know. I can't. I mean, I don't have a clue. I've never been bothered by them. No one's come up. No one's done anything ugly. You sit there and say that there's some spirits that will hurt you. I do get sick when there's something there. Now, I don't know if I get sick because there's a spirit there, or there's more than one, or that there's an ugly spirit there. I don't know. I mean, the sensitivity, I've always had it, but it's gotten stronger as I've gotten older. But I I can't tell you why, whether, if I see a shadow, like I said, that was the only time I've actually seen the shadows. Now, the hearing them, you do hear them, and that I can't sit there and tell you why. And that's, you don't know if you're, for me, I have to listen because there's no one. I know everybody has had this, but you're sitting in a house that's empty, and all of a sudden someone says your name, and you know that you heard somebody sitting there saying your name, and you turn around and you look. Everybody's had that little ordeal. What it is, I don't know. But
I don't think I've ever heard. I don't think that's ever happened to me. Say your name.
Yeah, yeah, just sit there and say your name, or it's just like you being in the woods and you heard the word help. Do you think actually, Rick, was that a booger or was that a spirit?
No, I think that was a booger.
Well, that's what I'm saying. I don't know what that was. All I know is there was someone sit there and called out my name. I don't know, and there was no one in that house.
Right.
So, I could sit there and say, well, yeah, I have a booger in my house, but I don't know. I don't know. I don't know what it was. But, yeah, that's happened to me.
Well, I don't know. I've picked up all kinds of weird voices in some of my videos. Just straight up voices. Now, I don't know what they are.
Well, yeah, I've heard them. I'm the one that listened to him and told you, listen to this. Someone is speaking. And you can hear it as plain as day.
Right. What is that? That's crazy. But I don't, I don't go out and look for that stuff. Like, let the dead handle the dead, That's not my deal.
Well, I don't, when you walk into my mom's house, you don't look for it. There's something that's just, I don't care what is this, because we've lived with it our whole lives. You walk into that house, and there's no one going to sit there, it doesn't bother me any. But when you hear something and you're trying to figure out, because my dad was real sensitive about that. He did not want nothing to know about anything or what was going on. He would really fast, yeah, we heard this, I don't know what it was, and walk away from the situation. Now, my mama would tell you, but my daddy, he did. I don't know if it scared him, it bothered him, I have no clue. But, if you could sit there and actually talk to him about it, he would tell you. Doors slamming, it's just the weirdest things that would happen. Who's walking in the driveway? Or why is somebody continually always walking in the driveway? So, I don't know. I don't know what else to sit there and try to explain to you. I have no clue.
Right.
So, why? Are they bad? Are they good? I don't know. And I don't sit there and say, okay, spirits,
I don't think there's nothing good about
see
them.
Me.
I don't think there's nothing good about them. That's why I don't fool with them. And like you was talking about the orbs a while ago, I think it's spiritual. It's energy, and that's what I think the spirits are. It's energy. Even like the spirits in us, we've got spirits in us too. And like the angels, they're spirits, they're energies, they're like a form, like a light. You know what I'm saying?
Right.
But I don't know. My mom, we built her house back in '95 or '96. And this was it used to be a horse farm, and the guy passed away, and his kids started selling the property or whatever. And he had there was a house out back that I guess he stayed in or whatever, in a big barn. But anyway, we cleared the lot, and the lot was cleared. We leveled it and raked all the rocks out of the yard and all that, and built the house. That's what my stepdad does for a living. And I was, I guess, 17 then. But anyway, ever since this house has been built, there's been something going on in it. My sister has seen stuff in it. Mom hears stuff in it. Their dog used to bark at nothing, like stare at a wall and bark at it. I've stayed there all by myself and heard something walking around upstairs. And my sister, like I said, she's seen something like as a shadow person. It was, I don't know, crazy. But I don't think
Yeah,
there's anything,
I
and
mean,
there's no graveyards up there or anything. And you can smell my mom and my stepdad. Either one of them smoke, but they say that they can smell cigarette smoke in the house when nobody else has been there.
yeah, and they say now, I've smelled when you walk in my mom's house, you can smell my mom's perfume till this day. Not all the time, but every now and then you can smell it. Well, they've already redone that whole house. There is nothing. There is nothing in that house that's not already been freshly painted or something done to. But every now and then, my brother says you could smell my mom's perfume because my mom's used the same perfume forever, and you could smell it in there. Now I don't know why. I mean, I have no clue if there's a spirit there or her spirit there, or I don't know.
Right, but that's what I was saying a while ago in the Bible. There's verses. Hang on, I'll look it up about familiar spirits, and I don't think there's anything good about them. I don't think it's like your loved ones. You know what I'm saying?
Yeah.
I think it's something trying to deceive you or whatever. But I don't. Yeah, I don't. I think once you're passed from this world, you're passed until the next world.
Yeah, because I mean, no one. I've never been.
Oh,
no one's never. I've never been bothered by them because I mean I don't pay no attention. I know. Okay, well there's a door that's shut because I'm used to it.
Well, I mean, I think it's good for people to be aware that these things are around. But I mean, don't go seek them. Don't go. Try to communicate with them or anything like that. I mean, I think they're evil.
Yeah. Possibility. I don't know. I can't sit there and tell you what it is. I don't know what it is, and I guess what I'm saying is until you pass over, you won't know. And now, people sit there and will say that they're demons. People say that, they're, loved ones. I don't know. I can't sit there and tell you because I've never had one have a conversation with me, so I don't have a clue.
Right. But anyway, yeah, I mean, I don't. Like I've got that one place I call Whispering Ridge, and like you said, you've pointed out quite a few things in them, and I mean, I'm kind of hesitant to go back to those places because I don't know what's there. I mean, it could be some kind of.
Well, you had. I remember we did. You had a recording that you told me to look over, and now this recording was done on the porch, at the carport. And you and this guy, I can't remember who it was, you two were talking. And I can hear a third person. And I had told you, I said, do you hear that third person talking? And it was like, now, whether it was a booger, but it was mimicking. It would say the same things you say and whisper the same things, but it's as clear as a day. There was no echo. Just you and that guy were talking, and you could hear it. Now, it could have been a booger. I can't sit there and say it wasn't, but you could hear it. That's why I sit there. I said, "Oh my God, I can hear this. I hear it on this recording. There's no lie. You can actually hear a third person on this recording."
Right. Yeah, I mean, yeah, I don't know what's going on with that. Honestly, don't know. I think there's a whole different dimension that we don't see. You know what I mean?
Oh, sure.
We don't see
I
it.
believe that.
And now I'm not saying that boogers fit into that or anything like that, and I don't believe that they cloak or they can disappear or they skip
I
dimensions.
agree.
I think they're the physical creation, just like you or I or Bailey or whatever. But yeah, I think there is another dimension that we don't see.
Well, everybody can't sit there. I believe that you got to walk outside your box. You got to see and understand that there's something else. There's other things out there. I mean, people believe in Dogman. People believe in Bigfoot. People believe in spirits. People believe in anything you can think of. I mean, there's some people that believe in elves, and there's some people that believe in little fairies and things like that. Okay, I don't know if because I believe in the spirits are here because I hear them and I see them. I believe in Bigfoot. There's people that may not believe either one of them because they are inside a box and they don't believe nothing.
I try not to discount anything anymore. I mean, 5 years ago, I didn't believe in Bigfoot, until they started hitting my house.
Well, that's what I'm saying.
Yeah, I don't discount anything.
You got to. This is a big, huge world we live in. We don't know. I mean, just because you just sit in your backyard and that's all you see is the four corners of your yard, and you say, well, there is no Bigfoot, there is no spirits, and, you can say that all freaking day long. But until you walk out of that box and look, you don't know what's out there. And that's why, people sit there, well, if I believe in Bigfoot, if I believe in spirits or see what I hear and what I feel, I can't sit there and say that I don't believe in Bigfoot. There's no way. I can't do that.
Yeah.
Because, and there's so much out there. We don't know what half the things are out there. If there was, I'm on that borderline of the dog. I'm on that borderline. I need to see and hear more information before I can really sit there and say, well, I truly believe, but I'm not going to sit there and say that I'm not, there's no such thing because I don't know that. There's not a whole lot of information for me to sit there and judge that.
Right. Yeah, I mean, we don't know what all's out there. I mean, all those stories came from somewhere. I mean, like throughout our history, there's real stories like that. We don't, I don't know.
Yeah, right. I mean, if I didn't hear them, or see them, or my grandmother or my parents talk about those things, or if, I didn't live in it, back in the day, we were in bed by 9 or 10 o'clock. I was the youngest, so all my brothers were gone. There was nobody in my home other than my mom and dad and me. You got to understand, my oldest brother's 20 years older than me. So that was it. I was the youngest, so there was nothing going on other than what we would hear in the middle of the night. And that was all the time. So, they wouldn't dare come to the house and try to scare us because you wouldn't be alive the next day with my parents. So there was just something in there, something creepy.
Right.
And I'm sure, the properties or houses, there's always something, because there's always something going on. I don't know. I can't sit there and tell you what it is. I mean, just like, some people have boogers in their backyard. Some people have dogmen in their backyard. Until you actually hear it, or maybe if you're lucky, see a booger. And I think it's pure luck for a lot of things these days. And that's the same way with spirits, by chance it could be accident or,
I think there's a lot more going on these days. I mean, I think it's always been happening, and you know what I'm saying? But I don't know if maybe it's amped up now or if it's just where we have so many ways to communicate it and share it with other people.
Well, I think it's so many. I mean, the stories that have been in my family, it's just been going from family member to family member. Now we've got the internet. So
right.
With the internet, everybody's putting a story on there now. You know, I didn't, growing up hunting and fishing with my dad, I was more, and we were always out in the woods. I never sit there and seen nothing. Nothing. There was nothing. We either hunted in the national forest, we hunted up there in the state parks. Not because I've got the national forest is about 10, 15 minutes away. The state park's about 30 minutes away from here, and so and then we would, I had family members that lived in San Antonio area, Gonzales County area, and I've rode horses out there. And I've never seen anything. But I didn't look for it either. The only thing I was looking for is like my dad would sit there and say, if this is what a deer sounds like. You're going to hear this deer do this. So that's what you heard, okay? That's what I assume it was. It was a deer, And then the way the cats always sound up there in Gonzales County, they sounded like females being hurt. I mean, screaming like bloody murder. Banshees is what they basically sound like. Okay. Now, back then, I wouldn't know if it was a booger or if it was a cat screaming. I wouldn't have a clue back then. Because back then, it was rare because every now a documentary would come out on Bigfoot. Nothing, it was rare. You didn't hear about it. You didn't see about it. So it was not like, okay, because I never heard it. Mainly if I was hunting or fishing, we would go hog hunting with my uncle, and we would ride horses. So if we heard something like that, it was automatic. It was a cat out there.
Yeah, I've heard a bunch of screams. It's creepy. And
yeah,
one of the first things that happens here was that scream, and then the hoo. I mean, just like that, not like an owl at all. And that's what I thought it was, a big cat up there. Until the next day, I went up and found the gigantic human-like footprint. That's what really got me thinking. Well, it's not a cat.
Well, yeah, I mean, because when we started going up there, because when I started going up there, I was young, but as the years went, the last time I was up there, I was about 17, 18 years old, and all of us were going on a hog hunt, and we were on horses. And my uncle's just sitting there saying, we got to be careful. There's a cat close around the property line, and so then you got to understand there's nothing but cactus out there. I mean, everywhere. So you're going through there and you can hear them. I mean, they sound horrible, and plus it echoes out there. And for me to hear something, if a booger were to scream out there, I wouldn't have known any difference because I've never heard one. Because they do documentaries on TV back in the day, back in the 80s, you would hear a fake scream, because they didn't have the recordings or anything of what a Bigfoot would sound like. Not till later.
What was that one, In Search of, or something like that? What was that called? You know what I'm talking about?
Yeah, I know which one you're talking about. I don't remember the name of.
Somebody's asking about dinosaurs. Did you say something about dinosaurs?
I mean, you can find them, especially out in Texas. You can find them,
dinosaurs?
Out dead dinosaurs.
Oh, you're talking about fossils?
Okay. Yeah.
Well,
we got
listen,
real runs.
there's a swamp over in Africa. I can't remember the name of it right now, but it's like the size of Alabama or something. It's like a huge swamp, and it's never been explored by like civilized man. There are tribes and stuff that live over there, but I can't remember what the name Gobway something blah blah blah. But anyway, they describe it. It looks like a dinosaur. And there's also a guy, and I think he might be up in Maine, but he said that down in Arizona there's a place where there's pterodactyls. So I mean, it wouldn't surprise me if there was dinosaurs running around. Lizards never stop growing. So like if there are dinosaurs, they're not going to be huge like they used to be. Like I think he was saying the pterodactyls are about like the size of a hawk or an eagle or something like that, and some of them were bigger. But like reptiles never stop growing until they die.
You don't know what kind of animals are out there. We haven't, this world hasn't been searched. It's far and in between. You find a bug, you can find certain animals, and then we got the animals that going into extinction, and then you got animals that are coming back from being extinct. So you don't know. We don't know what's out there. And especially if you're going into the rainforest area, there's no clue what's out there.
No. I mean, there's places on this planet that's not really being explored. Heck, friggin' panda bears. They were thought, that they wasn't real until the 50s or 60s, something like that. So.
Oh yeah, there's all kinds of
that thing.
There's been animals that there's animals here that have no name yet. Not yet.
I'm going to discover Bigfoot named a wood boogers. That'll be its scientific name. That'd be great.
But that would be nice. I'd like to see, I'd like to be close up and personal with some of these creatures that don't exist yet.
Yeah.
It would be nice.
I don't know.
But I can't.
I'd like to. I just want to have a good sighting of a booger. That's all. I mean, I'm kind of shocked it hasn't happened yet. I've had friggin' like really quick ones. But I like to see one for at least a couple seconds and get a good look at it.
Yeah, it would be nice, but I mean, I don't. They're not until it's. You're working on their time. You're not working. They're not working on your time. So when they get ready and say, "Yeah, we'll let you see us," well then you'll be blessed because not many do.
No, I think most of the sightings are just by accident.
Accidents. I believe so.
Yeah. Well, I'm working on something for this fall, and hopefully, if it all goes well, there'll be a few people down here. And I think one way that maybe at least somebody might get a sighting is to confuse them with numbers. Maybe drop off somebody here and there, and then have a group, go through or whatever. Some of the things I hear that they can't count. You know what I mean? Like drop off a couple people and the rest of the group go. Kind of like a deer drive type thing.
They wouldn't know what to do because there's too many. Just like when you look at all these videos of you got boogers on your left, you got boogers on your right, you got boogers behind you. They're all circling you on your way to wherever you're going. And that's what they do. if you're going to do what you wanting to do, go put them. You know, you got some over here that's in the yard, and you got someone over there in Stinky Holler, and you got someone over here in this area. Yeah, what are they going to do? You got people every direction. They're going to have to split up and see what's going on, and how many you got on your farm or not. You know, they got to figure out what you're doing. You know, they need to know what you're doing. Let's put it that way. They're very curious.
Yeah. Well, like whenever I had the group down here that came down with the BFRO that time, they actually followed us that night. I mean, it was crazy. It was like shadowing us. And well, I had that old crappy night vision deal, which I mean, I'm glad I had it that night, or I wouldn't have seen anything. But I seen one peeking around a tree that night, and you know, it was pretty far away, like over not real far away, maybe 30 yards or something. But it was like over an embankment and behind a huge tree that kept peeking around. And I even gave my night vision to another guy. Well, the guy that's with the Squatch team on YouTube. Yeah, I gave my night vision to him for him to look, and he seen it too. It would peek its head around and stick its head back real quick. Peek its head around and stick its head back. It was crazy. And it was, whatever it was pretty big. I mean, it wasn't like a coon or anything. You could see like its head and top of the shoulder. So, yeah, it's pretty wild. Well, you got any more spook stories?
No, I have to sit there that's about all the ones I can remember. I mean, my brothers have got more from the ones that before I was born. The ones that they told me, I know the lady, and then what you hear in the house, the people, the guy in white, the lady in black. Things like that. I don't remember all the way. I know there's lots more. I mean, we could do another one and do it for Halloween, but I can't remember all the ones that I remember.
Yeah.
That they tell me about.
Yeah, today at work, my boss, my supervisor, I guess I should call him, tech in charge, whatever, was talking about now they're hearing footsteps in his house, and he's got like he built his house new too. It's on top of a hill. It's an awesome place to live. He was talking about, and that's kind of what reminded me of your stories. I've been wanting to hear them ever since you mentioned them on that other, was it Paranormal Portal or whatever?
Yeah, and I mean, everybody's got stories. I mean, you know, if you lived in like that, you know, something going on in your home. I know Dee was sitting there saying that she also has stories like that, and some people, whether they're into the occult or they're sensitive, or if that house has the property. I know the house wasn't haunted; it was the property itself. I know the owner, which was my friend's dad. They had built that house because there was no house on that property. And my family was the first ones to move into that house. So that's, like I said, no one died there, no one passed away there. It had to be like I said, the property itself. But creepy things always was, there was always things there, always something there. Never changed. No, and it would get worse if my parents were working on the house. So I don't know. It was always never anything different. And so I'm sure you can get lots of more stories from people because I think everybody has experienced something or another.
Yeah, I just wanted to try something different tonight. And speaking of that, my granny, who is now 85 or 86 years old, just a couple of weeks ago, and she's never talked about this before, was telling me about seeing something in her house on a couple of occasions. And she's, old-fashioned Baptist. She's a saint, basically. She's an angel living on earth. And I mean, a highly religious woman. And she was telling me about that. It tripped me out. But I don't know. And that's what I'm saying. She don't have the internet or anything like that. And I don't know if you've seen what I put in the chat, but anyway, it tripped me out. She was telling me about that. She's like, I gotta close my right eye so I don't see it because she sees it whenever she goes in the middle of the night. She's gotta go to the bathroom or whatever. Yeah.
She's got to close her right out. I'm sitting there trying to figure that one out. So she doesn't see it. She says there's something there.
Yeah. Yeah, I guess it'll walk down the hall, or I don't know. I don't know. But that's what I'm saying. She don't use the internet or anything, and she
So
don't.
She wouldn't know.
Yeah, well, like we was talking about earlier, I don't know if like the spiritual stuff or the boogers and all this stuff is amped up right now for a reason. I don't know what's going on.
Well, I can't sit there and say that it's amped up. I don't know, because it's always been here. My grandparents, I mean, back in what? This has been going on in our house back in the 50s, and there was no such thing as, there were computers did not exist. So, and they just told each other, this is what's going on. And so I don't know. And she sure don't. I'm sure she has no clue. So she's telling you the truth. There's something, she sees something there.
Yeah.
You need to go see.
I don't know. I don't want to fool with it. I want nothing to do with ghosts.
Well, you can sit there and say, no, there's nothing there. Because wouldn't you make her feel better if you're walking through there and say, no, Granny, there's nothing there. I don't see anything. You can open your right eye now when you go back down there.
Right. I mean, I don't know.
I
really.
I don't know. Chicken? Come on. You don't know. Maybe you don't know what could be there. You should look for her. She sees something.
I don't know.
Look at you.
Maybe.
You need to go. I would sit there and say, okay, Grandma, I'm going to go look and see what I can see.
And then, well, I didn't see nothing, Granny, and she's going to be like, well, I did. What am I going to do? Punch it in the nose or something?
They're going to say, okay, Granny, well, no, I wouldn't sit there and say, well, because you'd get in trouble if you say it's only your imagination.
She's tough. She's tougher than I am, so she'll be all right.
But that's funny.
Yeah, but I don't know. I don't know what's going on nowadays. It seems like the world's went crazy, and all this stuff's happening too. Oh joy. But anyway. Well, Susie, I've had you on here.
Holy water.
Huh?
I was looking at Christine. Christine says take holy water and put in all the doors and windows and houses and sage the house. My parents have done that.
I don't know. Maybe get a blessing or something. Like have your preacher come and bless it or whatever.
I always had that done too. It only works for a little while, and then they'll get active again. It's just, I don't know. I don't know what makes them do that.
I don't either. I don't know. I just don't know. But it seems like it's amped up here, like in the last few years. I mean, it just blows my mind that, I'll be 42 years old this November. And I've been coming down here ever since I was a baby and had no idea. I mean, now that I think about it, there's things that's happened to me whenever I've been out in the woods and, stuff that's happened around the house here with boogers being followed out and stuff thrown, stuff like that, and hearing creepy vocalizations. And not till a little over 4 years now, I finally figured out what it was and that these things that they're real. It's mind blowing.
That's true. Well, that's true. I mean, you're taught as a kid, you were taught the same way I was. If you're hearing something, that's normally a deer, or that's normally a hog. That's what you're hearing, until you're figuring out when you stop moving and it's still shuffling along and then stops, But that's, as for kids like me, that's what we're taught. What you're hearing out in that woods is deer. What you're hearing out in the woods are a hog. No one's going to sit there and tell you what you're hearing is Bigfoot.
I remember one morning, me and Dad went hunting, and I was a little fella. I probably maybe 10, 8, 9, 10 years old. Anyway, we went deer hunting, and we got up there before daylight, and we went. I'll tell you where it is where we had that camp out where I had the two doing the bush talk on either side of me, and right on this side of the mountain, not the Stinky Holler side, but our side of the mountain, and it was before daylight, and there was stuff walking all around us. And I mean, it sounded like, I don't know, like 2 or 3 was something was there, and that's I kept wanting to turn the light on. And Dad's like, "No, don't turn the light on. You'll scare them off." And I asked him about that it's been a couple weeks ago now. And I said, "Dad, do you remember going up there and hunting, and you would let me turn the light on? There's stuff walking all around us." I said, "What do you think that was?" He said, "I think it was deer." I said, and that, I've hunted for a long time now, and I was like, well, don't you find that highly unusual that deer would be walking around us like that and not running or blowing at us or anything? I don't think that was deer. And it wasn't squirrels because it was too early for squirrels to be out. It was before the sun. It was before first light. I mean, there was no light at all. And they was keeping their distance. I don't know what else it could have been. I mean, even like if there's a pack of coyotes, you'd hear some growl or something. I mean, there was no noise other than footsteps. I mean, I don't know what it could have been.
No, that's what I'm telling you. That's how we're taught. We're taught, if, a kid's hunting and fishing, that's what you're taught. You hear, a deer blow, well, that's a deer. That ain't, you hear a growl, you know what it is. You hear a hog rutting in the ground, you know what that is. I mean, you don't, no one tells you, your parents didn't tell you, or my parents aren't going to tell you, hey, it's deer. And my dad and my brothers, that's what they did. In the wintertime, they were hunting or they were fishing. And it don't make any sense now, but just like, okay, you remember. Now, why would, why would a deer be circling your camp? I would never think a deer would do that to you, ever.
No, well, I mean, that day we had walked in there. I mean, it's right up there where the pond is. That's about where we was, where the pond is. And there was more than one. I mean, they was all around us. We was like surrounded, I guess you could say. And they just kept walking. A deer or something would have took off. 2 humans coming up in the woods. Like,
right.
I'm a little fella. I'm sure I was making all kinds of noise anyway. And it was just weird. And back then we had the flashlights. You was doing good for your beam to hit the ground. I mean, it's before they made LED or anything. Them old yellow looking lights. And we had walked up there. It was probably 30 minutes before daylight, so I mean, before you could see anything. And I don't know. Looking back on stuff like that, it's kind of weird now. I mean, I can't say what it is, but I'm pretty confident it wasn't deer or squirrel or chipmunks or anything like that.
Oh yeah, I mean, because here we've got the big thicket, and we've got the national forest over here, and going farther, just another 15 minutes from the national forest over here, because I can cross the highway over here, and it takes me 15 minutes to get to my national forest, and they cross over, because where they cross over here in Sam Houston, there's a main highway, and they always cross over one of the highways Because, I mean, it's nothing but woods surrounding our whole lake, Conroe Lake here. I mean, it's nothing but like Houston could tell you.
I've looked
so
at it
many
on
woods
Google
over
Earth.
here.
Yeah, I mean that looks like a very boogery place, and like, man, you hear all kinds of stories about the big thicket. I mean, the boogers down there is ornery. Why do you think they're so ornery down there?
I have no clue. Everybody that I've ever talked to that go out here and do research, it's just I don't know. They're not like yours. I don't have no clue. I don't know if it's because of the heat.
That's what I think.
You know, I don't know, because we don't get our cool air literally till the end of October.
Well, wasn't air conditioning invented down there or something?
Now, do what?
Wasn't air conditioning invented down there around Houston? Am I wrong there? I mean, I'm being totally serious.
Well, we didn't have it when I was growing up, and this was in the 70s. We didn't have AC. We did not have AC. It was rare. We had a window unit, and it didn't. I don't even remember my mom coming up. I mean, today there is no one in the state of Texas that doesn't have AC.
Yeah, well, I thought I heard something about Houston, Texas, and maybe like, I guess maybe that's what made it so big, the invention of air conditioning, because nobody could stand it. It's so hot down there.
Oh, yeah. I mean, it's the humidity that kills you down here. I mean, and like I said, it does not start cooling off. And I'm talking just the cool, I mean, not cold. We don't get cold weather. To me, we don't get cold weather till freaking February. That's how, January. It's
really
nice. It's nice temperature down here.
There's no way I could stand it down there again.
It's hot. It's hot. Like I said, in October, it's still warm. It's not cold. I mean, I get so excited when it starts cooling off in October, November. One year I was wearing shorts for Christmas. It was hot. It was in the 80s that one summer. I thought, oh, for real, this does, depends on it. Just depends on. I mean, we had a pretty good winter last year. It stayed cool most of when it was supposed to stay cool, and I'm hoping it's going to be like that this year. Times are changing. We got three little snowstorms, if you want to call it that. Last year. I mean, it wasn't much.
Yeah, the past couple of winters here. Right. Yeah, y'all don't see much snow. The past couple of winters here have had a lot of snow, but it ain't been like freezing. We had one little cold snap. I wish we'd have like a solid month at least. A cold snap keeps me stupid bugs off. But it ain't been as bad this summer as it has been like last summer. God, it was horrible. This summer we've had one heat wave, up in the hundreds and such. Basically, it's been in the lower 90s, but it's like he was talking about, the humidity.
Yeah. The humidity down here, oh. When it says it's going to be 98, you're talking 110 degrees. I mean, it's horrible down here. And, I live 45 minutes from Houston, and then I live not too far from Galveston. The Gulf is right there, so it's not too far from us. So, like these just recently, we've been having, showers coming in from the Gulf, which has been keeping it cool, thank God, because, it's been horrible down here.
Yeah.
But as for the boogers, I mean, our boogers down here, from what I talk to, and then they'll tell you, everybody, the ones that do research down here will tell you that they will lure you into the woods down here by mimicking animals that are hurt, whether are mimicking cats or things. Now, why they want you in the woods, I don't know. but they'll do it. They certainly will. Every researcher I have talked to down here will tell you that. By the lake. Now, I can't sit there and tell you the ones that are, farther down south what they'll do, but I know the ones over here by the lake will do that. I don't know why. I can't sit there and tell you why. If they just they want to watch you walk into the woods and see what you're doing, but they'll do it. They'll do it up here. But things are changing so dramatically out here in my neck of the woods. There more subdivisions are being built, because we used to have, the way it was, we would have sightings more on the outskirts of Conroe, and now even our outskirts, where our new subdivisions are just going in. I mean, because it was always, we have lots of woods. Montgomery County here is huge county. And so it's, far and in between. I mean, our town is small. Excuse me, our town is small, but the county itself is huge. And we got more subdivisions because we have Exxon. Exxon moved in not too far from us. So now you got everybody from Exxon coming in here, and the company has people who are coming in from out of town, out of state. So now, Boogers are being moved away, farther and farther away.
Yeah, we're encroaching on them. Yeah, for sure. That's another reason people's having more sightings and stuff too. I mean, I think there's a lot of reasons that the sightings is going up, but that don't explain the spooks.
Now, I don't know if there's any spooks in our. I mean, I don't go looking for spooks over here in the National Forest. When I'm there, we used to, back in the day, used to hunt there. Never seen anything. So I can't sit there and tell you if they're. I mean, I know lots of people get lost there. That's one thing. That ain't no lie that we get people that get lost there.
They're probably staring at their phone and got lost. It's unbelievable.
I don't know.
People's cell phones.
But yeah, I mean, Houston sit there and said the same thing, that where he does his research, they tend to push him more into the woods too. And where Houston does where he does his research is not too far from where the research is from up here. So, I mean, I can't sit there and tell you why they do what they do. Why they want you in there, why they're cranky, I don't know.
I think it's the heat, I swear I do. I mean, imagine wearing a fur coat in this hot weather.
Well, yeah. I mean, you can be in our woods up here, and it's like you are pouring. I mean, you're pouring because it feels like you're in the jungle. I mean, I'm talking the Amazon jungle. It is hot. And that's someone else you need to talk to is Houston.
Yeah, that's what I was getting ready to say. I need to get up with you. You don't have no videos on your channel. What's up with that?
I know. Yeah. Houston sits there. When he told me where he did his research, I thought, oh my gosh, are you serious? Because I know the area. I couldn't believe it.
Oh, so he's close to the city? Close to the city of Houston?
Yeah. And then where he told me, I couldn't believe it because I know the area. Never had a clue. I mean, you would think, and I don't see no one posts anything. I mean, I'm not talking about Houston, but you would think somebody from that area, because it's so close to where my parents live, and no one ever said anything out there. I don't understand that. No one says anything. I mean, unless they're thinking they're listening to coyotes.
Well, see, I've had a time. I mean, one of the reasons I even started this channel was to find somebody close to here, and well, that really. I mean, there's been a couple people, I guess, but I don't know. Like my cousin, that's the cop. He never did get back with me. I don't know. People really don't talk about that much. Like I've talked to my Uncle Bob about it, and then the guy that's dogs all got stolen, pups all got stolen, and stuff like that. And he hears strange howls and stuff. I mean, they tend to just blame it on different things, even though like the garden deal, we found the track. So I mean, I don't know.
Yeah, I don't know. I mean, where I used to live up here, you would sit there and, I mean, coyotes would come right into my driveway. So, I mean, they would always try to just,
Houston's surrounded by forest, ain't it?
I didn't hear you.
The Woodlands, Houston, I'm looking at it on Google Earth. It's surrounded by forest.
Yes.
I didn't realize that.
All
and you're right up. Okay, I see. So you're up in Conroe, around Conroe, anyway.
I'm right there in Conroe, and that's right up there is Montgomery County, right? I'm right set in the center of it. Then you got your lake on the left side. Oh, yeah.
Yeah, that's nothing but a bunch. Is that what they call the big thicket right there?
The big thicket, it's to your right. Okay, this is down where I am in Sam Houston National Forest, and then you go up farther to your, you'll see it if you can get in closer.
Oh, I went to the right.
Okay, you'll see Conroe, and then right there where the lake is on the left side, and then the big thicket's over. It's farther to your left. Yeah, the big thicket's right in.
Up here?
Right over here. No. Okay. No. You would go over there, see where it says San Jacinto on your right. You keep going. That's Lake Conroe right there. That's where I live, right?
Yeah.
Right smack there. But if you go to your right, no, it would be your left then. Yeah. Keep going.
Well, it's a lag, so that's why I'm trying to go slow now. There's a lot of forest down there.
Oh, it's everywhere. Yeah, we're thick in it. And that's what I'm saying. Nobody.
Texas is such a huge state.
Yeah, I mean, I know. I always used to. Houston says, look towards Lake Houston. That's where his spot is.
Oh, we don't want to give up nobody's spots. Angela, I probably went too far or something. I don't know.
Yeah, you have to go the opposite direction.
Oh, I thought you said.
You
said to the left.
No, I said take a right.
So, is this Lake Houston up here? Is it above Houston or?
Yeah, Lake Houston is kind of to your right. If you're going, can't tell without looking because it's blurry on my end.
It was saying the screen was lagging.
Yes, northeast. Probably have to go. That's a big thicket right in there.
There's Lake Houston. And there's boogers in there? That looks like a lot of folks is around there.
Now there's woods back in there, and there's subdivision, but you got to understand that.
Oh, I see.
Okay. That is what do you call it? Just it's wooded, but it's not that far. I mean, you got subdivisions, but they're not that clustered in like if you were in Houston, because that's the outskirts.
Right. Do people have a lot of problems with them there? I mean, good. I couldn't imagine like a place like that, and then boogers. Like if they come here and hit on my house, if they do stuff at people's houses there.
That I don't know. You'll have to ask Houston about that.
Yeah, I have to get up.
And that's true. Like he says, they are closer than people think.
Oh, I mean, yeah, I realize that. Houston is a big place. Which, I mean, I realize that's on the outskirts, too. But, man, that's very close. Is this the big thicket up in here, then?
If you if you just go straight up like towards off of 59, Highway 59, and then you'll run into it. Let me see. Just look at it. Just put it down there on your little get direction slot, and it'll tell you. It'll show you.
Oh, there it is. Yeah, that's what I thought it was. Because a lot of green in there. Whoa.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, no, that looks,
yeah, it's all green.
That looks pretty biggery.
And that to me is bigger than our national forest.
Yeah, you see a lot of people going in there too. I bet they've had all kinds of problems in there, like around people's houses. And that's what I bet a bunch of people don't even realize, what's going on around there. They probably get their houses slapped and windows pecked in and all that stuff and don't even know what's going on. You know what I'm saying?
Oh, I'm sure.
I think they ought to know.
But no one says anything. No one says nothing.
Well, there's such a stigma on this. I mean, if you talk about it, you're crazy. So there's that. Mingo County, bloody Mingo. Well, Sissy, I appreciate you calling.
Okay, not a problem. I had fun.
I'm gonna end this. I still gotta get my shower.
No, the next person you need to get is Houston up here. He can tell you some stories too.
Yeah, I have to get up with him. Well, all right, gal. I appreciate you calling.
Thank you.
I'll end the stream. I'll talk to you.
I will talk to everybody later.
Thank y'all for joining.